Hi, this is Christina from Proverbs 31 Woman, and today I am going to give you a tour of my new greenhouse. Now, we just moved on to this homestead property from the suburbs, and so we didn't actually build this, but what I love about it is it's exactly the way we would have done it. It is all upcycled material, and so I'm going to give you a tour of the inside and out. It's one of my favorite places on the property. You can see here, these are just a couple of old windows, and I want you to notice the ventilation up at the top. That's just totally open. This is the water holding tank. In my state, as long as the water comes off the roof line, you are allowed to collect it. And you can see, I think, the spout coming off the roof. When it rains, the water goes directly into this holding tank. And then down here, let's see if I can get closer. Yeah, there's a valve, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit here, but okay. So tank, windows on the outside here. The door, you gotta love this, is a shower door, and it works very well. Again, there's ventilation up the tippy top there. On hot days, I just prop it open, works really well. More old windows. Down at the bottom here, you can see they've used greenhouse material, that plastic stuff. And it's also worth noting that they planted some strawberries down here, which have runners everywhere and need to be cleaned up, but you may as well take advantage of the heat from the greenhouse and put plants that love warmth nearby. This is one of those little greenhouse windows that people often put in their houses, and that one I pretty much leave propped open all the time right now in the summer. More old windows. Again, there's always that little gap at the top. And for our area, we don't get snow in the winter, but we have a lot of rain and wind. Okay, this piece, they probably ran out of windows, so they got that sort of corrugated material for greenhouses, which can be kind of pricey. I don't know if they found these off something else. And here's the back side. And this is quite large windows back here. This faces the west. They've got some more heat-loving sunflowers planted here. And then there's kind of a jumble of potatoes and catmint and some other things. And then again, the holding tank. Okay, so now that you've seen the outside, I'm going to take you inside. It's where the magic happens. And I am really liking it. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention too is you will notice that things don't look super clean, and that there are, for example, a lot of cobwebs. I don't know if you can see that there, but there's cobwebs all over this baby. And I thought about cleaning those off, but then I thought, why not let the spiders help me? Gardeners love spiders because, notice the latch here, because they eat a lot of bugs that aren't good for plants. So I decided to just let it be, let all those cobwebs stay there for now. Maybe late in the winter I'll clean those up. So you can see they lay down this nice brick here, a little pathway. Love that. That keeps your feet dry and keeps things from being muddy, makes a distinction between the area you walk on and the area where you plant. Okay, now here is a plastic barrel, I guess you'd call it, that they cut. And what happens is there's this green hose right here, and one end goes in the tank and the other end lines up with the big holding tank outside. And when I turn that valve, I get water in the greenhouse for irrigation, which is great. I keep the water level kind of low because it does get warm in here. It's at least 10 degrees hotter in here than it is outside. So why let the water evaporate? So I had to put just enough in that when I'm using my watering can, it's easy to fill. There's a handy dandy little shelf here. I collect these plastic containers. This one had magic erasers in it. Another one over there had greens. Sometimes you see them for bakery items. They are the best seed starting little greenhouses. You just poke holes in the bottom, put your soil in, put your seeds in, water well, I use scissors to cut slats in the tops here. And if you want to learn more about how to use those to start your seeds, I recommend my ebook, which is only 99 cents. It's called Starting Seeds, and you'll find it at my blog. I also, I like to use found materials. When we sold our suburban house, we put new blinds in somewhere, and we had to trim them to size. And so these were the pieces that were left over, and I thought, aha, these will be great as plant markers. Sometimes I'll keep like my kids' popsicle sticks too for that same purpose. One of my favorite things to do for plant markers though is aluminum cans. So if you'd like to learn how to do that, or certain other types of plant markers and pots and things that are all upcycled, again, my ebook on seed startings is really helpful. This is my son's old pajama top. It's made out of that sort of stretchy fabric, and I was looking for a way to tie up my tomatoes, and because we're moving, I didn't have my twine and things. This is perfect. I just cut it into strips and tie it up, and it's soft and flexible, and it doesn't hurt the plants at all. So anyway, I digress. I just want to direct your attention now over to the other side of the greenhouse or hothouse. I have a bunch of tomatoes planted. Most of these are indeterminate, which means that they vine rather than bush. So I just kind of used what was on hand, which were these sticks. We live in the woods, so these work really well. And those tomato vines will grow all the way to the top and perhaps even keep growing. The previous owners tell us that they had tomatoes well into winter. You'll notice I have straw as mulch. And I did that for a couple of reasons. One is that I wanted to help retain some moisture in the soil. This is a pepper plant that the previous owners left behind, so I just have it in a regular tomato cage. And another reason is the soil here throughout the whole property that I've seen so far is really poor. Let's see, you can maybe see down here. It is real sandy. There's no earthworms. It's real dry. It's just kind of dead. And so by putting down an organic mulch, something that's going to decay, that will help encourage earthworms and just benefit the soil greatly. Right now, my compost isn't finished yet. We use, kitchen scraps and garden clippings, that kind of thing. And so something like straw is a really handy thing. Here, by the way, are some seedlings in those plastic containers I showed you about. I just started some seeds yesterday for some winter crops. But we do have my daughter's pet bunny, and so even just one little pet bunny produces a lot of manure. And so I side dressed the tomatoes with that, and that's going to help the soil too. So up here again, see the ventilation? That's quite a large gap up there. And if it ever gets really hot, which probably won't here, but the previous owner said that they just removed that piece of plastic greenhouse paneling so that things didn't roast. Now, this is kind of interesting. This is like a potting bench. You'll notice it's got chicken wire right here. And what they did is they just used these boards and they'd put them across like this when they wanted to use it as a potting bench. And they remove them when they want light under this area here. They also had some trays down here that they used, and right here you'll see a tray. Kind of clever. I didn't have time to do it this year, but I'm hoping in future years to maybe try and put a melon down here or cucumbers, something along those lines. The previous owners also left us a bunch of succulents, which aren't really my thing, but my children have chosen to divide them amongst themselves and learn how to care for them. So I encourage that. They've done some vegetable gardening too, but this year there wasn't room or time to do it. Here's a poor dear aloe plant that I brought from our old house that sat out being too cold and too wet, and I'm trying to revive it here. It's not dead yet, and it's starting to show a little bit of green. I think with patience it may recover. Let's see. Here's a squash plant. It's a summer squash, a patty pan. I had it outside and it was looking really unhappy, and I brought it in here, and within 2 days, I think it had grown and it was looking perkier and happier. It was an amazing difference. These tomatoes, by the way, I planted them in here perhaps 3 weeks ago, and I think they've quadrupled in size. So things are loving it in here. You can see there's a thermometer here. It says, let's see, that it is about 80 degrees. So it must be about 70 outside. That's about the difference in temperature with the door open that I get. There's another little area right here where you could plant things directly in the soil. They had left a bunch of things here, some dill, some iris, there's a tomato plant here, and they have put chicken wire up along here as a wall, so I suppose you could plant, and also back here you could put something that vined. And then sort of the last thing to show you is this bunch of sunflowers that they had planted in here. So lots of possibilities for this little greenhouse. Lots and lots. I'm still kind of cleaning up. They had left there's some man-made fertilizer over there that I would never use and things like that. But it's just a really happy place here on the homestead, and I'm looking forward to perhaps expanding it, because I would like to be able to grow things like watermelons or other types of melons that I've never been able to grow because our growing season isn't long enough, or I think here it's probably a little too windy and cool. So there you have it. Our new greenhouse.